This is, again, the laughsang, this Born Alive Infant Protection Act that has been waiting for, I think we're coming up on 3 years, for a vote in the House. Nancy Pelosi refusing to allow a vote on this. Evidence right there in our nation's capital. And this is defining of the character of a nation. Infanticide, that's what we're talking about here. The evidence would suggest either partial birth abortion, baby partially born and then executed, or born alive and then its life taken. This is a dangerous place for a nation to be. Something that should prompt all of us to pray, and pray that God would move on the hearts of our leaders and certainly on the hearts of the court as they're about to hand down a decision. Well, joining me now to talk more about this is one of our strongest pro-life allies on Capitol Hill. She is the chairperson of the House Values Action Team, and she has been working tirelessly to pass the Born Alive Abortion Survivors Act. Congresswoman Vicky Hartzler. Vicky, welcome back to the program.
Thank you, Tony. Good to be here.
As you were advocating for this measure and we were pushing it through Congress, we kept hearing from Nancy Pelosi and her troops that we don't need it. This is a solution in search of a problem. This never happens. It's within walking distance of our nation's Capitol building that evidence suggests that infanticide is taking place.
Oh, it's just heartbreaking and it is sickening. I mean, when this news came out, it just makes you want to cry that these little babies, first of all, didn't have the opportunity to live, but then they tried so hard and it looks like they did live, and then the abortionist killed them. And this should be fully investigated. And I agree that the medical examiner needs to look at this, because we have doctors, one who used to be an abortionist and then became pro-life, who has looked at the evidence and the pictures and has said very strongly that she believes these babies were born alive and then were killed afterwards. And that's why we have to have a full accounting of this incident and what happened, so that these babies can receive the justice that they deserve. But then also we have to pass the Born Alive Abortion Survivors Protection Act that you have cited. It has been languishing here in Congress for too many years. And as you know, every Republican in the House, including myself, has signed a discharge petition to bring this directly to the floor for an immediate vote, to bypass the committees, because Nancy Pelosi and the leadership of the committees in the House don't want to pass this. They want to ignore it. They want to deny this happens. And we want to bring this right to the floor, force them for a vote. 100% of the Republicans have signed on to this discharge petition. But sadly, since we're in the minority, we are 6 votes short, and there's not one Democrat that is willing to stand up for the unborn babies and sign this discharge petition. It is a crime that they won't speak up for these babies. And it's past time to pass this. And I'm hopeful that the voters in America will go to the polls this November and will vote for pro-life people that will send this bill straight to the floor so we can vote it, we can pass it, and that there can be criminal penalties on anyone who would participate in something like this.
Yeah, there's a lot of issues now, but this is certainly one of the areas where we see a significant contrast between the two major parties in this country. And as we've seen, you just said it, all the Republicans, I think we're about 212 maybe, that have signed the discharge petition. You've got all the Republicans saying, we want to protect the unborn. We want to draw the line, no infanticide in this country. And you can't find a single member of the Democratic Party that's willing to sign that and say the same? Wow, that says a lot.
Yes, and we had a couple of pro-life Democrats here last Congress, and sadly, Nancy Pelosi recruited people to run against them in the primary and defeated them. I mean, they were so extreme, she doesn't even allow any Democrat in her caucus to speak up for life. You have to be 100% pro-abortion or she'll come after you and defeat you. So it's a sad state, but this shouldn't be a Democrat and a Republican thing. The American public overwhelmingly in surveys said that a baby who is born alive after an abortion should be provided with the medical treatment they need to save their life. I mean, this is a 77% or higher issue with the
Right.
average American. And so the Democratic Party is out of step with the average American, certainly in this area, and I would argue in other areas like American energy independence and our foreign affairs and at the border. But this is what we're talking about
And
today, and certainly deserves support.
and I would say women's sports as well,
That's right.
protecting it for women and not biological men. But this is where, when a party is in control and they have laid out these issues, which all of these issues are laid out in the party platforms, and the parties pretty much stick to that, and certainly the Democratic Party, they stay in lockstep. This is what you get when you have a left, I wouldn't say left-leaning, a leftist majority in Congress that is dictating the way Congress should go. Now, there's another aspect to this, Congresswoman Hartzler. If DC government is refusing to investigate, to do an autopsy, I know they have home rule, but Congress has oversight of the District of Columbia, and the Government Oversight Committee could certainly rattle the saber a little bit and say, look, these are the type things that you should be looking into. If the law has been violated, we're going to hold you accountable for it.
Yes, and I think we certainly can make that case. The problem is, since we are in the minority, we don't have the chairmanship of the Oversight Committee, and we can't force them to do that or pass legislation, but we can sure make noise. And we can next year.
Well, but there's the statute of limitations on infanticide will still be in place when the Republicans have the majority if the American people hand it to them next year. So I think the D.C. government should be put on notice.
Oh, absolutely. I was going to say that when we take the majority in the fall, there are things that we can do. Certainly, with, as you said, we can proceed with statute of limitations will not be over yet, but then through the budget process too, we can withhold money and dictate how the money is spent in the District of Columbia. And we can take charge and overrule what the local people say. And that's definitely what needs to happen here, because they've gone rogue and they are not even going to investigate. This is unbelievable.
Congresswoman Vicky Hartzler, I want to thank you for the great job you do on Capitol Hill, advancing the issues of faith, family, and freedom, leading the Values Action Team. Of course, you're also on the Armed Services Committee and do a great job defending our men and women in the uniform. And we're grateful you joined us today.
Well, thank you, Tony. Appreciate it.